Welcome to EasyFlow. In this video, we will walk through everything you need to know about data mapping and operations in EasyFlow. Let's first create a new flow with the title, Mapping and Data Operations. We'll start by creating a simple JSON formatted dataset. In order to achieve that, we need to drag the built-in mapper connector into the designer canvas and configure it. Remember to set this step as a starting point. Click on the Preview Results option from the bottom menu to see the outcome. The data is returned in JSON format as expected. Let's click on the Built JSON Object step again, then click on the icon with 4 dots next to the Mapping Items text box. This will bring up the Dynamic Content panel. You can see a graphic representation of the results under the Build JSON Object group. This will allow us to pick and map the data graphically during configuring the next steps of the workflow. In the next example, we will show how to add JSON data from the first step into an array. As a result, we are looking to have an array of JSON data. Add another mapper connector and link it to the first step. We will give it a title of Add JSON into Array. From the right side of the Mapping Items text box, click on the 4 dots to open the Dynamic Content panel. To add the JSON into an array, we can use the Add Array function expression. This can be done by clicking on the Array tab and then selecting Add. The Add Array function requires 2 input parameters, the source array and the value, which will be the JSON object we've built in the first step. For the source array, we will type 2 box brackets representing an empty array of JSON. For the value, we will pick the Build JSON Object item from the first tab in the Dynamic Content panel. Remember to save your configuration before previewing the results. As you can see, the flow returns an array of objects in JSON format. In the next example, we will extend the case and create an array with 10 JSON objects. To do this, we will use the loop connector to iterate 10 times, and during each iteration, it will append a single JSON object to the array. A variable to be used to store the array values during the iteration. Another variable to use as an index while iterating. Let's create 2 variables of type workflow. We will name them var list people and var loop. In the variable setter connector, we will set initial values for each of these 2 variables. The var list people will have an empty array as its initial value. The var loop will have 0 as its initial value. We will also give the variable setter connector a title of variable initiate and connect it to the second step and to the loop step, respectively. With regards to the loop connector, we will configure the index length by giving it a value of 10. This means that the loop will iterate 10 times. Finally, we need an additional variable setter to be placed after the loop step. This connector will be responsible for appending the JSON objects to the var list people and incrementing the var loop index by 1 during each iteration. To append a JSON object to the var list people variable, we will use the add array function expression. This is the same procedure we used during the second step in the video. We will give the add function these values. Map the source value to the var list people variable. Map the value to a custom JSON formatted object. The JSON object will have first name, index, country, and city keys. Consider mapping the first name to a predefined UUID string variable in the index to the var loop variable. This will help distinguish between the JSON object items that will be inserted into the array later on. remember to close the loop cycle by linking the variable setter last step back to the loop step, then press save. Lastly, we will configure and place a mapper connector as the final step to show the output. The mapper should be mapped with the var list people variables, in which we have already built the array of JSON. After previewing the results, we can see that the output was returned as an array of JSON objects. The first name key contains the UUID and the index contains an incremental number, as expected. Finally, we will show you how to use the filter connector to filter the results returned by the array of objects. From the built-in connector, drag the filter to the canvas, then link it to the output step. As we will filter an array of objects, we have to choose the key filter from the operations list. This option allows us to determine based on which key we are looking to filter the array. As we will be filtering an array of objects, we need to choose the key filter from the operations list. This option allows us to determine, based on which key, we are looking to filter the array. To configure the key filter, we need to set these values. Map the output step with the source array text box. In the source key text box, type index to filter based on the index value. Type 3 in the value text box. Type exact inside the operator text box. Click save, then preview the results. As expected, only one object was returned inside the array of JSON with an index value of 3. Thank you for watching this video. Please feel free to contact us if you have any questions.